Hey everybody, welcome back. It's Rachel with Living the Journal Life. I'm so excited that you're here with me, and hello to all my new friends. I'm so excited that you're here too. Today we're going to be looking in detail at my 2024 Hobonichi order, and I just want to do a quick-ish video. It's long for me, but quick for everybody else. Looking at the differences between the English and the Japanese versions and just flipping through and seeing what each of the different journals and planners and notebooks have to offer. So let's jump right in. First up is the Hobonichi Cousin English edition. This one is actually going to be my mom's. She doesn't use a lot of stickers or washi tape, so she can have her techo in one book, and it doesn't get too bulky for her because it's mostly just pen. So I'm showing you the difference here between the single techo and the Avec. Avec just breaks the book up into two, and then the original, well, this isn't the original, this is the cousin, is in one book. And hers is the English version, so there is going to be some differences between the English and the Japanese version. So first up, this yearly page, you can see that the days of the week down there are written in English characters, and the months are going to be a little bit bigger than they're written in the Japanese version. So let me show you that up close because it's a little bit hard to see as it is. But in the Japanese version, you just have one and then the character for the month. And then in the English version, you have the whole word written out. And this is a big difference here, is that in the Japanese version, they're using the characters for the days. And in the English version, of course, we're using the letter abbreviation. So this spread goes all the way through December, and then you have your January start. I love that January is on a 1st in 2024, like is a Monday. That just makes me super happy. So the difference between this spread, between the English and the English has the words written a bit bigger. The characters seem to be the same, but the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is bigger, and then the January is much bigger. But otherwise, it's very similar, and just this little tiny, you can barely see it where my thumb was, but that tells you what week it is, which I find really handy. And all of the months are going to be the same, except, of course, they're dated for that month. The Saturdays are always going to be in gray. The Sundays are always going to be in red. This is a little problematic if you use stickers, but it's something that I just get used to. And you have all the way through March of 2025. Mind blown. I can't even think about 2024, much less 2025. And then when we get into the weekly pages, they're going to be very similar to the Japanese version. Except, again, that day of the week is going to be bigger. So the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is going to be a bit bigger and more easily legible in English. And also the January is bigger on that little sidebar and that black bar. And we always have the week it is, and then it circles the week it is in the month. And then down here you have from 5 to 5, which I think is amazing. There's no AM or PM. If you're working a night shift, you can flip this however you want, and you have the whole 24 hours every single day. So it's not judging you if you're a night owl or an early morning person. It can work for all of us if you want to use it as a time block. They also include the phases of the moon. I think on the daily pages, it's all the phases. On the weeklies, they just mark the full moons in the English version. So you get a page for every single week, and they're all the same format. With you 24 hours every day, you're going to have a little calendar in the top, and then you're going to move onto this one page, which is just your New Year's spread. You can do anything you want with it. It's a blank page. And the beginning of every month, there is this blank page. And I really, really enjoy the English version. I hope they eventually make an English Avec for me, because it's just January and the number 1 because it's the first month, and there's not all this extra writing or extra characters. It's very clean, very simple. I really like the English version. And then the days, you can see the difference. Instead of a number 1, it says January, and the Monday is much bigger. And in the Japanese one, they highlight Japanese holidays, and in the English version, they leave it off. And I was checking to see, because I had never really noticed that the grid and the like writing on the page is the same color as the tab of the month. And I don't know how I have never noticed that. This is my 6th year in a Hobonichi. So mind blown again that it's so subtle. It's this month, like the purple is what caught my attention that I just never noticed it. So I'm not sure if they have changed the color scheme or I was just that blind to it because I've been looking at these books for years now. And you can see the moon phases, and then you get a few blank pages at the end. There's only like 3 of these blank spreads in the 1 year at a time. And then you have this where you can write down your timetable, and then a sheet of graphing, which I thought was cool. One year I was losing weight and I was graphing my weight loss. This My 100 is done on 2 pages to accommodate the larger writing for English writing, which I think is helpful. An interview with myself, and then there's all kinds of questions to ask yourself, which is kind of cool if you're looking back, and some seasonal recipes, and something to do with checking your vision and caring for your eyes, a place to write down words to remember throughout the year, a 365-day challenge so that you can, I don't know, challenge yourself to walk every day or something like that, and then a bunch of resources and a spread for writing down gift ideas and addresses, and then a personal notes. This is very small, so I'm not quite sure what you do with it. And that's the end of the Techo English version. Next up, we're going to do the Hobonichi Cousin in Japanese. And this is the Avec, so it's broken up January through June in one book and July through December in another book. And again, it's the exact same size, just broken up into 2 books, which I find really, really helpful because I use tons of stickers and washi and I tape things in, and it would get too chunky if it was just in one. So again, this is just the same as it was, but everything's a little bit more catered towards Japanese. So the months in English are very small in the corner, and all of the characters for the days of the week are in Japanese, which it's never really bothered me. And if it does bother you, there's shops that can make stickers to cover that up so that it's in English for you. I really hope someday they're coming out with an English Techo Avec. But for now, this is what we have. The monthly pages are exactly the same as the one we just looked at, except for the days of the week at the top are a little bit smaller, and we have the days of the week that are a holiday are marked in red. Sundays are always marked in red, but if you find other days that are marked in red, that's because it is a Japanese holiday. And the days of the week are written much smaller, and the characters are the same size. So you're still getting all the same information. It's just a little bit more streamlined towards Japanese people instead of English-speaking people. And then the difference again is we have some Japanese writing at the bottom, and the January is much smaller. And otherwise, again, it's very similar. Instead of saying January 1st, it says 1/1, and the Monday and the Japanese character are the same size, but it's all the same information as you had on the English version, just formatted slightly different. And what's different about these is there are 3 or 4 blank spreads at the end of each book. So the Avec actually gets more note pages than the full year in one book does. But we get the same back pages. It's all written in Japanese. So you have to either look it up or just get a translator. Again, the My 100 is smaller. It's on 1 page instead of 2 pages. And that's because Japanese writing is generally much, much smaller than English writing is. And it's all the same, but you should try using something like Google Translate because it's a little hilarious. So if you don't have access to the English version and you want a good giggle, just try snapping a picture of the pages and getting a giggle. But usually you can find them on the internet if you want the English version. And the second book is exactly the same layout and everything. It's just dated July through December. And next up, we're going to look at the Hobonichi A5 notebook. This is going to be the same if you get A6 or A5. I just prefer the bigger size, but the insides are going to look exactly the same, just obviously sized down if you're getting the A6. And oh, this botanical cover is gorgeous. The first couple pages, I feel like you do really have to train for it to lay flat, but that's just how the binding is really close. Once you get a couple pages in, it lays really flat with a little bit of training. And I was checking, this is my last year's journal, and I didn't notice, of course, because I apparently am just not noticing color things, but the journals have 3 different colors on the inside. So there is a slightly yellowish grid, there is a slightly bluish grid in the middle, and then in the front there's sort of a pinkish grid, which I don't know how I never noticed, and the camera isn't picking it up terribly. It's very subtle. It's nothing that it's something you could very easily not notice, but it's very weird that I've been using these for so many years and not noticed all of these very subtle color changes. So again, if it's just a few pages in, it lays pretty flat with a little bit of training. In the middle, it lays flat with almost no training, and again, towards the end, you just have to train it just a little bit. But I have an A5 just plain Midori cover on it to keep it safe, and because I love these covers, especially this botanical one. Next up, we're going to take a look at the A6 Techo Avec. So this is very similar to the Hobonichi Cousin, just sized down, and there's no weekly pages. But it's cut into two books, so very similar to the Cousin, but you can see the size different. This is A6, which is significantly smaller in my hands. I look a little bit like a giant flipping through it, but this is a really lovely little size, and I'm very excited to use this one. Again, these are in Japanese because it's an Avec, and so all of the characters down the side are in Japanese, and instead of having January, February, March written out, you have a number and a symbol. The symbol for month, I would assume. Oh, and then the English is written, it's just written smaller to the side. And then these do have the monthly pages, and it starts in December. I don't know why. There we go. It starts in December and goes until, again, I think March of 2025. And you have the days of the week. This one does not have the little calendar. It's a little bit more simplified layout. You have the days of the week and the dates throughout. The days that fall into a different month are a little bit lighter. And I wanted to show you this because if you get the sticky notes, the smaller sticky notes are meant to fit in this view very wonderfully. And if you get the supplement, it probably is the same size. And these sticky notes are so cool because you can pick them up and move them around. And I like to do it if I'm going to, say, watch a show and remind me that it comes out on a certain day, and I can just pick it up and move it to the next week. Or when I do certain tasks that I need to be flexible with, you can put them on the day you want to do it, but then move it to the day you actually are gonna do it. So you have until July in the first book in the monthly pages. And again, there's no little calendar, but it's pretty similar to the bigger books. And then you have this turning the page onto a new year spread, and then it goes straight into the dailies. So you have the little kind of cover page for the year, for the month, and it's January, and then there's some writing at the bottom. And then again, these daily pages are very similar to the Cousin. They're just sized down for the A6. And this does have some writing on days that are holidays, which is kind of cool. I'm going to have to look those up each day because it's a little subtle in the Cousin. You can kind of gloss over it, but it's a little bit more apparent that these are holidays in this A6 size, especially since it takes over quite a lot of the day page, and I just think it's a little bit more festive, so I'll probably start looking into more holidays just to see what people are celebrating. And then again, there's no weekly section, so it's just the monthly section, the yearly section at the beginning, and then there's a few of these in the back. I'm just training it a little bit to keep it open. And the My 100 is on 2 pages because this is a very small thing. You've got your graph section, you've got your favorite section, the My 100, and the interview with yourself is what this one was. Again, you can hilariously have Google translated if you wish, and some seasonal recipes, and then the eye health that they did for this year, and then the same information that was in the other planners. And this one is actually very cool that it wasn't in the other one. If you know the year that someone was born, you can figure out their age, which I find very helpful because I write down the year that somebody is born in my books, and then I'm like, oh my goodness, how old is my nephew these days? Because, you know, eternally in your head, they're 5 years old. So the other half of the book is exactly the same back pages. It's just dated for July through December. Next up, we're going to look at the Hobonichi A6 Day Free. So this is going to be very similar to what we just looked at. It is the A6 size, so it's that smaller size, as you can see by my fingers. And it's got the same things in the front. Well, first it says Day Free. It's got these this yearly layout, like a year at a glance, and then your yearly pages. I'm just going to train this open a little bit, that show you your months, which is December through, I believe it goes through March maybe. And then again, it's got the Japanese characters for the days, and the months are written bigger in a number with English very small on the side. And yeah, it goes through March of 2025, gives you a little bit of forward planning. It starts in December of 2023, and then the monthly pages go through March of 2025. So you've got all the monthly pages. These are exactly the same as the A6 that we just looked at, and the 2025 helpfully have that light on there, so you can't accidentally start planning for 2024 on those pages, which I find helpful. And then it just goes into blank pages with some writing at the bottom. And in the corner, there's a little tiny number to let you know what page you're on, and then it has that hidden special light line that goes down the middle of the page. Not quite the middle, but the side of the page. And then there are 171 pages. And let me show you how I use it this year. So I use it for work, and I use dot markers to denote the various projects and things that are going on. And then this was a week that I got sick, so I didn't actually work on anything. So this is just a setup of the week. I try and decorate it, and then I use the week on 2 pages. I've also done a couple of little journaling pages in here because I had the time and I was bored sitting around one day. So that's what it's going to look like when it's in use. And don't forget that I have a whole series on ideas how to use all of these different spreads, and for your many different techos. Doesn't matter the size, the ideas will still be useful to you. And I'd love to know what you think and what planner you're going to use for 2024. See you next time.